time. And then, before he's decided what he's actually going to do, the guy pulls out and hits him a third time. I'm gonna murder him! And he gets out of the front door, he rips open the front door of the next car, and he's about to punch that driver right in the face, and sees there a 16-year-old blonde, very pretty, and he stops and says, "Excuse me, miss, do you want any private driving lessons?" No. So Rabbi Noach Weinberg asked the question, how could you go from potential manslaughter in a moment of road rage to a totally different place? And the answer is, our emotions are governed by thought. They're not controlled by anything outside of us. And that's why a person can switch in a moment from one thought to the next. Says Rebbe Nachman, he says there's a number of places you find in Torah Nun, in Likutei Moharan, it's impossible to have two thoughts at the same time. It's impossible. Efshar sheyiyu. It's impossible for there to be shnei machshavos biyachad, two thoughts at the same time. It's impossible. Your mind can think very quickly, but you can't have two thoughts simultaneously. And the reason why that's so telling is because we live in thought and nowhere else. So when this person angers me, and I'll give you my second scenario where I'm really outraged. How many times have I told you, don't speak to me that way? I can't stand. Michael, how are you? Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm in a lecture. No, I'm coming right now. I'll be over in 5 minutes. Really? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm coming. Don't worry. Yeah, I'll cancel the lecture. Thanks. Bye. No, I'm so sorry. I was working on this. I'm going to get a commission. It's a multi-million-dollar deal. I've been working on it for ages. And when I saw the phone ring and it's Michael, and it's this client I've been trying to service for the longest time to see if and he wants to meet to close a deal. Now, one second. I was really angry with whoever I was angry with. So how did I switch from, oh my gosh, it's Michael on the phone, and in a split second, hi Michael, how are you? And the answer is, anger is not real. It's a thought. A thought can be real, but so therefore can be the next thought. For me to continue the anger, I've got to keep thinking the anger. But if I'm either interrupted by something that interrupts me, or I interrupt myself, I don't have to live in the next thought unless I want to. See, how long is the life of a thought? As long as I keep it. So how long is my thought of resentment? As long as I resent them. How long is my possible feelings for nakama, revenge? That's very deep. How long could that last? As long as I think it. As long as I see the photo of that person, or that you mention that person, and already conjuring up in my mind, it gets triggered off the pain and what I associate with that person, what they've done to me, and before you know it, where's my mind? What am I thinking about? I'm thinking resentful, and I'm thinking anger, I'm thinking possible nakama, revenge, and those are very serious, those are very deep emotions, but here's the misunderstanding. There are no emotions that can be divorced from the mind. It's impossible. It's never even ever happened. But because we live inside thought all the time, the last thing I pay attention to is what I'm thinking. Because I'm constantly being stimulated by the outside world. And yet I do have a choice. And we make choices all the time. Ladies, some of you have friends, if you don't know yourself, who've got an iPhone or a Android or a smartphone. So let me ask you, what do you do when there's a pop-up? What options do you have when there's a pop-up on your phone?
Close it.
Close it. Delete it. Lock it. Ignore it. Or open it. Or read it. I call it two things. Explore or ignore. Now, every single thought that comes into our mind is really a pop-up. I don't necessarily control the pop-ups, really. Because we're living in a very, very stimulating world where things are happening, people are talking, over here, read, and sensorially I experience physically interaction with situations. The rain, I can't believe it's rain. I'm paying a fortune for this weekend. The view in that, I can't even see anything. So, I hope I'm not relating to anyone of you. Okay, so we experience the rain and we experience the weather, we experience the up and down of the market, but the reality is it's impossible to experience anything except in thought. And how long is that thought? As long as I think it. Oh, so there's going to be pop-ups. The question is not how do I control the pop-ups. That's really hard. Because as Rebbe Nachman himself says, he says this in Sicha Mem Vav, I believe it might be Mem Dalet, either 44 or 46, in a sefer called Chai Moran, where he says the thoughts from the moment you're created are non-ending. They're constant. You can't stop thinking. He even says when you're asleep you're thinking as well. But for sure you're much more aware of it when you're awake. There's no way to stop the thoughts flowing in your mind. He gives an example of a pendulum on a clock, going back and forth, back and forth. It looks like, hey, this is going to go on forever. Yeah, you are thought. Your body is just the car carrying the passenger, but the true passenger is your mind. So your body, when it dies, temporarily, till resurrection of the dead, but thought never dies. That's your neshama, that's your seichel, that's your mind. The subtotal of what thoughts we've had is what we take with us every waking moment and into the grave and then beyond. So comes along Rebbe Nachman just to tell us how reality really works. We live inside our thoughts all the time. It's impossible to have two thoughts at the same time, and I always have Behira. He says this in Torah Kuf Yud 110 in the second section of the Kutim Ran. He says it in just so few words. He says if you want to know what Behira is, free will, it's the following: Im roitze oiseh. Im roitze oiseh. Im, one word, roitze, two words, oiseh, three words. Im roitze oiseh. If he wants to, he'll do it. Im eina roitze. If he doesn't want to do it, eina oiseh, won't do it. Really? Bechira? Free will is that simple? And the answer is, yeah, when we realize that reality is, you and I only exist in one thought at a time. And from one thought to the next, I get to either ignore or explore. Oh, but the thought keeps coming back. So I get, oh, it's another pop-up, so ignore or explore. Explore and see for myself. Where does it take me? Gets me angry. It relives the triggers of what that person did or said to get me upset. And no, you don't understand. You don't understand. What that person did, he really did. She really did. But here's my question. Is he or she doing that right now to you? Yes or no?
No.
So when you say they really did, where did you experience that? In thought. And if you're re-experiencing now, but only like a discounted rate of, let's say, $300 an hour, where I come and reopen the files of yesterday and go back into all the pain that I've been experiencing. And then I dig up a whole new layer. Oh my gosh, I thought that this person hurt me on a level of, like, say, 0 to 10 on a 7, but now I realize it's a 9! No? This was so worth it. Now I'm going to pay $300 next week to water the weeds. And then I'm going to uncover, you know what? You have no idea, I have a whole new insight into myself. It was not a 7, it was not a 9. It's off the charts. There's no scale that can accommodate the pain this person's done to me. I'm ruined. I'm never going to be able to recover. And all that is thought in the moment. That's what I'm experiencing right now. So Rebbe Nachman is coming to tell us, Ikar ha'elukus, the presence of God in our life is believers in the mind. Ikar Kas is a chesaron of das. It's a lack of knowledge that that's not how the world works. The world works inside out. It never works inside in. Never. I'm always living through thought. So the memory of any pain is a thought in storage of my memory banks. And when I bring it to the now and relive it, I'm reliving a thought by choice. And what Rebbe Nachman talks about all the time is Ikar Simcha Belev. The main happiness is in the mind. And he gives the verse from David HaMelech from chapter 4 in Tehillim in Psalms verse 8. Natata Simcha Velibi. You gifted happiness in my mind. It's a very important verse to understand. Rav Nachman quotes it many times throughout the Quran, I think at least 7 times. Because the main happiness is in my mind, and the proof is, David HaMelech said, you have gifted me. It's a language of Ava. It happened already. Natata. You've already gifted. Natan is a language of gifting, of giving. Natata, you've already gifted Simcha, happiness, Velibi in my mind. There are already reasons for me to be happy. But you guess what? There are all sorts of pop-ups. Achitophel, Doeg. My father-in-law tried to assassinate me 3 times. Shalom Malach. My son Avshalom tried to assassinate me and rebel against me. And then Adoniyahu, right at the end of my life, another one of my sons tries to assert my authority. And in my lifetime, I lost 4 sons. Amnon raped my daughter. These are all thoughts in the moment. And David HaMelech was able to say, you gave me reason to be happy. And when I get the pop-ups, not if, when I get the pop-ups of that first marriage, not to mention the second one. I can't believe I fell in a second time. And not to mention my teenagers. Now you know why I'm bald. Not to mention the finances and the investment and the trust I had with that shadchan and whatever it is. Those are all pop-ups right now, which I get to explore and go there. Go there if the exploration leads to greater understanding of myself and propels me to be stronger. But if it brings me back into pain and resentment and anger and, God forbid, nakama, desire for revenge, whoa, what does God want me to do with that? Does he want me to go there? So ladies, let's look at this closely. If it's really true that emotions have been tremendously misunderstood, I think one of the people who really helped bring this misunderstanding was Dr. Freud. That was a Freudian slip, sorry. Dr. Freud. So what ended up happening is that we've compartmentalized life into, well, there's my mental capacity, my mental ability, my thinking, my academic, and that's all mind. And then there's my body, and there are my emotions. But you know what's really sad is actually they're so closely intertwined, the lave and the lave, the heart and the mind, those are inseparable, totally inseparable. But it's not only those are inseparable, the functioning of our body is 100% correlated to what we're thinking and therefore feeling. And it's only more recently, like in the last 100 years, where more and more medical papers are demonstrating that correlation. That you can't divorce the mind from the body. You can't divorce emotions from the body. That's a misunderstanding. So if I treat the body without asking, is there any stress taking place in your life right now? Or what else might be feeding into this anxiety or depression or this particular ailment? To start to realize this is a stomach ulcer that's being triggered by the fear or anxiety that I'm feeling because that's what I'm thinking a lot of the time. And my body ends up saying, you know what, you need to slow down to be able to recover from this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to turn up the volume of pain till the whistle blows and you'll be limping off the pitch because that's the only way I'm going to get your attention. But you can't really divorce them. And to do so, to compartmentalize, it's okay academically, but in reality, that's not how the world works. That's not how we function. We function as one whole. The body will be buried, but the mind continues forever. But it's the mind that is when the neshama is removed, that's when the body stops. Because you can't take, the two are intertwined perfectly. So comes along Rebbe Nachman to offer that Kaas, anger, is a misunderstanding of reality. God is only and always good. And if that's really true, then what am I going to do with my anger? What am I going to do with my resentment? And listen how the Torah really spells it out for us. It's extraordinary. Book of Leviticus, Vayikra, Parshas Kedoshim, chapter 19, verse 18. Very famous verse. I'm going to tell you the Hebrew, but you'll see how famous it really is. Lo tikaim, don't take revenge. On a 0 to 10 scale, where would you place revenge as a very deep-rooted feeling?
30.
30, thank you, Diane. We broke the chart. We've got 10, 30, down. Any higher than that? 100, okay, we've got 100. So it's very strong. Verse hasn't finished yet. Lo tikam, just 2 words. V'lo titar b'nei amecha es b'nei amecha. And don't, in the English translation, which is not bad, don't bear a grudge. Look at Rashi. Lo titar means natira is a language of shemira. Don't guard the thoughts, memories of what people have done wrong to me. Really? Don't bear a grudge. Don't remember what he, she said and did. 1 second. Don't have revenge. Don't remember what people have done against me. Wow, that's a tall order. The verse is not ended. Anyone? What's the next words? Blow my mind. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. God, you gotta be joking. How do you love your neighbors yourself in the same verse? Now, if a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist would be at the time that Moshe Rabbeinu was being dictated these words, I could see them, excuse me, Master of the Universe, with all due respect. I have a lot of clients who are going to have a really hard time with this verse. Do you mind? This is just my humble suggestion, dear God. Could you take don't have revenge and don't hold a grudge, don't remember other people's faults, put that like somewhere near the beginning of Genesis, and then take love your neighbor as yourself, put that near the end of Deuteronomy, at the end of Devarim, and give us some space to recover. Now I think that would be a reasonable request, but the request is coming from my misunderstanding of reality. Because you know what God is really saying in that one verse? Nekama, revenge, takes place where? It's a thought in the moment. You never exist in the past. You can bring the past into the moment, but it's still not the past. It's the now. And you can't ever exist in the future, so whatever anxiety or worries or hopes that I have for the future, the future never exists, because the moment you get there, it's already the present. So the only moment I ever live in is this, but it's not just the moment I live in, that's a description of an outside factor, time. The real place where I'm taking place is the thought in the moment. So how far am I away from the next thought? One thought away. So God says, let me explain to you. It's very simple. Nekama, revenge, is a thought. Don't have a grudge. Don't remember other people's faults. Oh, that is a thought. It takes place where? In my mind. And God is saying, just like those two are thoughts, you can go to the next thought, which is love your neighbor as yourself. Because that's a thought. And if you don't believe me, guess what? God signs off the verse. Ani Hashem. I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. I am God who designed you. Duh. So I know how you think, because I created your mind to never exist in any other moment than the thought that you're thinking. You can't ever really relive the past. It's impossible. The most you can do is take a memory from the past, place it in the now, and try to re-experience it, but that's not reality, because it's only still a thought. So if I want to get away from Nekama, Natira, I want to get away from feelings of revenge and feelings of feeling resentful towards you, I need to recognize that the feeling is not the origin. It's what I'm thinking. And if that's really true, OMG. If it's really my thinking, then does this make sense? You make me so mad! You ruined my life! I gave you the best years of my life! And what am I talking about? I'm expressing thought in the moment about the sum total of our interaction, and really it ends up, Rebbe Nachman talks about this in Mem Vav, in Sichos Haran, in 46. it's like really putting it really, really between the eyes. It's telling me that when I'm angry, I'm really complaining against God. It's very strong to put it that way, but that's what it really is. Because the assumption is that God, this is not how my marriage should go. God, this is not how my kids should go. God, this is not how my health, this is not how the world should be behaving or treating me. And life's not fair. And before you know it, I'm overloading myself with thinking that is the problem and not the challenge. It's the overthinking I'm doing to myself. Imagine, as our sages tell us, that each one of us has got a nisayon. So I'm pretending that this weight here, it's a sefer, but this is my nisayon, and I can handle it just about, because God, you wouldn't give me a test that I can't carry. Okay, so after a while it starts to feel a little bit heavy, but actually it's much more heavy than I realized. You know what? And my wife and my husband's really not helping to make this easier for me. And I'm starting to recognize that my kids have no appreciation of the amount I bust my tail in this man. It's not like I'm carrying enough already in my life. And guess what I start doing? Until eventually, God, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take this anymore. And before you know it, it wasn't the nisayon. It's not the test that's overwhelming me. It's overweight thinking that is pulling me down. And so God says, I can command you, I really can. I can command you to ignore the pop-up revenge, pop-up bear a grudge. And when the next pop-up comes, you can choose your pop-ups. But I'm telling you which one you should really be focusing on. Just like I've got a few faults and inconsistencies and weaknesses in my character, and I've got a track record of doing that, but it's only 59 years. And just like I still live with myself and try to love myself, ve'ahavta lereacha kamecha. Reacha, what a strange choice, but God, this is a perfect choice. The word reacha, your friend, your neighbor, your colleague, is the exact two-letter root ra. Whoa! Ra means bad, negative. Why did you choose that word to describe the mitzvah of loving other people? And God says, well, try find me a neighbor who hasn't got any mistakes in their character. Any flaws, weaknesses, has never let anybody down, never disappointed anyone. Ain't tzaddik ba'aretz. There's no such thing as a righteous individual on planet Earth. She'aseh tov, that only does good, v'lo yechta, never makes a mistake. It's just not reality. So what is reality? Do I live with me? I could be my worst bully, where I bully me. Because I put myself, I can't do this. This is too much for me. I don't have enough friends in my life. I feel like I was like alone, and I can't believe I messed up, and I keep bullying myself. I'm putting myself down. I keep hurting myself, and it's those thoughts that are hurting me. They're angry thoughts. They may not come out as decibels, but and God says, just like I'm capable of loving me, He wants me to love others with their faults.